Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Flip Side. On the first Monday of every month, we talk about mindset. And every other Monday after that, it's all about real estate. My name is Lizarazo, and today's guest speaker is Jacqueline Francis. Now, before we get started, I want to share some exciting news with you. I have a social networking platform for the real estate investing industry. So if you're an investor, a mentor, or a professional, then you want to become a part of this platform. And one of the great features is, for example, you can share your profile. You can actually share who do you serve. You can show what locations you invest in, anything you'd like to share. If you want to check out Jacqueline's, I'll be posting it in the comments. She has her profile set, so you want to have yours too. And to get on there, you go to realestateinvestorfam.com, and at the top you'll see that you can also download the app. So get on there, be a part of the movement that's going on, share who you are, get involved, help or get support, and be a part of REI FAM. Now back to the show. On the flip side, we talk about mindset, and we're here to help you move forward. And today it's finding the answers. So if you guys are ready, let's give Jacqueline some thumbs up, some love, some fire, and let's get her on. Yeah, how many times I have to accept this thing? Usually it's like 20. Let's see. Oh, it was a quick one. Hey.
How are you? So good to see you. Happy April the 1st. This is the first day of April on a Monday. How beautiful.
I know. And definitely no fools, no April Fool's company. This is all real information that we are providing. Always here to support and help. And Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming on. So what are we going to talk about today?
So today we have a very amazing topic, and me and you actually had discussed this, and I think it's important to share because we can get so caught up in like not knowing how to do things.
Mm-hmm. Finding the
Sorry, can you
answer.
still see me? Oh,
Yeah.
there I am. Okay.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. So I
Go
mean,
for a couple seconds.
yeah. So when we were talking about this topic, I mean, it came up because we had been sharing about our own experiences, and we just thought it would be a great topic to dive into. If you want to get started and just share what your thoughts are, just like how that came about when we were talking about it.
About how to find the answers. Actually, I kind of forget how did we even get into that? Why did we? I was actually funny when I went in. I was like, oh, what was it again? Do you remember? I forget exactly what it was that triggered us to
We
talk
we
about
were
that.
talking about the book. We were talking about some of the books that we were sharing,
Yeah.
and we had decided like how like when you're in these reading groups, right?
Mhm.
Like as you are, and as I'm also a part of a book club. When we like, how many times are we saying yes to things? And
Mhm.
sometimes we say yes to something when we really don't want to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And I think it's also, and I think this is actually, I remember, I think I said this to you. I was saying that always say yes to everything. You can always say yes to everything, at least at the beginning. You say yes, but you provide your terms. Like, this is what I need to be able to actually accomplish what it is that I want to do. So yes is like the start of anything, right? Like you
It
just say
is.
yes
It
to
is.
open your mind to the opportunities that are there. But you're definitely allowed to, after that, be like, what are my criteria? What's gonna work for me? And see, and then usually it's usually if anything, if it can't be done, it's they're saying the no, that oh I can't do this, can't do that. Well, you can't meet my criteria, then we can't move forward. Right? So for me it's always the yes, but in the end it could be definitely a no.
Yeah.
But you always want to open up your mind to the possibilities of what's out there because we don't know where things can lead us. And that yes will
Mhm.
just help open up where it goes to and what are the possibilities that are there.
So when we say yes to things, it's got to come from a place of like genuinely wanting to do it. Whether you want to take a job, whether you want to go on that date, whether, you want to host a party at your house. And be intentional about the yes. And like you said, it's okay to change your mind after, but I would say don't say yes to something that in your heart you feel that you don't truly want to do it, but then you go ahead and say yes because now you're people pleasing. Now you're doing it because you feel obligated to. Now you're saying yes because you're afraid to say no right off the jump. So are you being authentic to yourself? And these feelings come up, and then what ends up happening is we know it's really a no, and will start acting from the place of the no. So either you'll start ignoring the phone call, you'll delay on taking the action, and then it would be like calling and canceling at the last minute, or telling the person, I'm not able to do this, or like however that tends to manifest. It will happen based out of the original feeling of you not really wanting to do the thing, instead of being in integrity and being your word of saying the yes.
I love that. And that's also so true of basically for that really is knowing what it is that you want. So you're actually attracting the things that make sense to the path that you're wanting to take. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with that because it's like if if you're unclear with your vision and what you want, you could be saying yes to like everything, but it's actually not taking you to the right path that you want to go. And if anything, it's more of a distraction than actually helping you move forward. So it's like that even initial thing before the yes is so important, like actually bringing in that clarity of what is your path, what do you want? So you're making sure that you're even just bringing on those opportunities that make sense for you. And like that. And then afterwards, it's about, okay, does it meet my criteria? Is it like, does
Yeah.
this make sense?
Exactly. And another thing that's coming up for me is that when you are aligned with the yes, and I mean, we're in a new month right now. So think about all the things that's ahead for you that you want to say yes to, but are you jeopardizing who you are and your integrity by saying yes? And you had mentioned you want to say yes to everything, but you can't say yes to everything. You just cannot, like, it's not possible to extend yourself that much to every single yes. But at the same time, you want to say yes to the things that are going to be aligned with your path and asking yourself those questions. If I say yes to this, how is this supporting my life? Instead of unconsciously just saying, yeah, I'm going to go. And then you're like, oh my God, why did I say yes to that? How many of us have done that before, right? Oh my gosh, why did I commit to that? How am I going to get this done? And then we put the stress back on ourselves. How could I possibly do this? This is going to take a lot more commitment than I thought it was going to be without being clear and intentional about the yes that we put out there.
100%. And I think actually what you said, like, yes, at taking, like, doing the stuff, like, you don't want to say yes until you actually understood what it is, the responsibilities. So the yes that I'm talking about is even yes to opening up to what it is. But then again, like, asking those questions to make sure, is it actually something that you're going to get involved in or be a part of, or does it make sense to, like, that the path that you're wanting to go down to? So I did want to make that distinction because, yeah, we don't want to say yes to everything and then keep ourselves busy doing things that make no sense to us, you know? But
It does not
I'd
fit into
say
our
more of
lives at
like,
all.
pardon?
It does not fit into our lives, but just saying yes to everything and anything.
Yeah, 100%. So it's the yes that I'm talking about, that yes to opening up your mind to just even hearing what it is that it is. But that exactly doesn't mean that you will be doing, right? And that's the point of the criteria part. Just being like, well, if this is, and like that, like, does it mean, for example, even is it going to help me in my path to getting to where I want to go? If that's an automatic no, then it's, oh, okay, that's not going to work out. But even if it is in your path, making sure that it's like, well, I need to meet this, this, this. Do I have the time? Is it something that's going to be whatever it is? Having all that criteria, like knowing yourself is very important so that when you're gathering all the information that they're telling you about it, you decide, oh, this is or isn't going to work for me.
I think you'll feel it. Like, so I could say there's two parts to the yes. So there's yes to let me find out more. Yes, share the information with me. But then the second part of that is the yes to the commitment, right?
100%.
Depending on the situation, we may not get the ability to say two yeses, right? Where sometimes people want the commitment right off the bat, but then it goes back to what you said, what is this going to then help me with? So if I can be open to the possibility of yes, if you're sharing information, if you're, giving me a date, if I hop on like a class, even you guys who are on this call right now, you're opening to the possibility of what we're talking about, and you're hearing and expanding your mind to say, oh yeah, yes, I'm going to join that live right now to see what I can benefit. But if we were on here saying, okay, guys, we want you to sign up to like this $10,000 course, well, that's another yes that you'd have to say, okay, well, is what they're offering helping me move forward in my life? And then you make that committed yes from that place of, what do you want for your life? How is this aligned with my goals, my values, and where I see myself in the future?
I love that. And then what would you say, what tips would you give for the viewers for once they're there and they're having these opportunities come to them? What recommendations do you have for them to even be able to find out if, like you said, that's authentic to themselves, that they could find what it is that they actually want?
I love that question because it comes back to who you are. So I do self-image work, and it's understanding who you are and how you see yourself in your mind. We all have this identity that we hold of who we believe that we are. So not what other people have told us about who we are, but our own personal view of ourselves, right? And if you're not clear on what that is, it's so easy to get pulled into different directions. So I would start by just asking yourself, like, what would I love? What would I love in my life? Even in the next month, we're here at April 1st. So what would I love to see happen for my life in this month? What would make me feel good? What would make me, feel joyous? Or what will bring me happiness to be able to carry out X, Y, and Z that will get me closer to the goals that I'm setting for myself. And when you start to write that down, and writing is so important, journaling is so important, because you're literally taking the thoughts that you have in your mind and you're putting them down on paper, which is so powerful. You're taking an idea and you're making it tangible. And through those answers, you'll be able to then discover more about who you are and then say, okay, well, if I do this, is this going to make me feel this way? And it's all about the feeling. How do you feel about yourself? The things that you do in your life, is it giving you a really good feeling where you feel calm? Or is it that like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, everybody feels it in their body. Like, I know you know what I'm talking about. Everyone has this feeling on everything that they do. Does it feel good, or does it feel kind of resistant? And that is an indicator of whether sometimes we should do something or not. But you have to distinguish between fear and just that ability of not ever like, sometimes you'll get the fear because you haven't done it before, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, just means you need to sit with that for a little bit and say, okay, well, if I've never done it before, then yes, I'm going to feel the fear. However, am I going to go talk to my aunt or my brother or my spouse who doesn't know the path that I'm going on? I'm not asking for permission. I'm asking for support. Can they support me to make the right decision? And you can get the answers, which I think originally will come from you, will come internally, but you can be open and you could say, yes, I'm willing to entertain the ideas, or not, yeah, the ideas or what you're telling me. I will listen. However, the decision will still come down to me. And is this working for me? It's a bit of a
And I love
long-winded answer, but yeah.
I was gonna say, I love that you said that thing about fear, because sometimes we don't understand when fear is just something that's stopping us from changing, to the fear that we should actually not be doing it, and knowing what is the difference between the two. Because getting out of your comfort zone, like you said, when it's things that you don't know, the fear can be big, but
Yeah.
that's because you're going into the unknown world. And I, at least personally, always take fear in the sense of there's questions that I need to have answered, and that's why the fear is there. And so I feel like when you kind of start repositioning it in that way, where it's like, oh, I'm nervous about this, then kind of like, okay, what exactly is making me nervous? And then
Mm-hmm.
understanding what that is. And then maybe you're like, you know what, maybe I do need to do a little bit more research on this or look into that or talk to this person. But then once you start kind of answering all those things, then you have that, you end off with the irrational fear where it's like the world's going to end and who knows what silliness your mind is telling you. And that's when you're like, okay, time to move forward because clearly there's no other questions that need to be answered. And my mind is just trying to stop me from moving forward because I do have all the answers. And so I think I like to kind of, I feel like that's how it is with me, that I just see fear as like, okay, I have to answer questions because that I have to get
Mm-hmm.
answers to my questions. But then it's like also knowing that tipping point where you've had all those questions answered. Now are you loafing and you're just scared to be scared and the world is ending just because you don't want to change, you know?
Which is so true. And I feel like everybody goes through that. And like, not a lot of people understand themselves. Not a lot of people take the time to ask those questions. Like, we're so caught up in living our day-to-day life that we make a lot of decisions unconsciously. So we just say yes, and then we start feeling all these things after. But coming back to like what you said, it's so important to ask those questions because the fear is going to rise. When you're thinking about leaving your 9 to 5 job to step into entrepreneurship, or you're, looking to go on that vacation that you have no idea how you're going to pay for, the fear is going to show up because you've never done that before. You are like, you're expanding. That's really what's happening. You're expanding to another level of yourself because you're used to staying in this container, and you're literally taking the lid off the container and you're jumping out of it. Like, the container is expanding. And then you're going to feel the fear because your subconscious mind now is searching in your database to find, well, where have I done this before? And it's going to come up with nothing. It's going to be like, whoa, wait a second. You've never done this before. So then the fear comes, and your programming and your patterns are going to show up. So for example, my husband right now is thinking about doing this other business, and he had asked a friend of his to hop on and they would do it together. Now, this is where mindset is so important because you can see the different mindsets that people have. And this guy works a 9 to 5 job. So like, my husband was like letting him know and answered all of the questions. Like, we dotted the T's and I mean dotted the I's and crossed the T's and gave him what he needed to know to subside some of that fear or some of the questions that he had. But because, let's say, he's worked at this 9 to 5 job for so long, he's worried about pension, he's worried about this, he's worried about that, he's worried about, oh my God, this, and all of the things. But as an entrepreneur, my husband was like, no, but you know what? If you're worried about this, this is what's going to happen. If you're worried about this, this is going to happen. If you're worried about this, this is how we're going to execute this. But the fear is so strong in the person because they're just so used to living life in a certain way. And to step out of that box, it's creating real like resistance and havoc inside of them. They want to move forward, but their programming or their paradigm, as we call it, is so strong. So you're
Mhm.
at like a crossroad. And when you have the fear, you have to understand that you're either going to go this way and move past the fear, and your life will take a dramatic change. Yes, always in a good way. Or you're going to give into the fear and you're going to remain in the exact same place that you were a year ago, 5 years ago, and even today. To change your life, you must walk through the fear. But it's understanding, is it fear or just ego?
Mhm. And also, I
Right?
think generally, to be honest, I think it will always happen that once you bring on this awareness, whatever it is that's been brought to you and you want to do it, but you're stopping yourself, you will, it will happen. It just may be you're not good at making decisions. Maybe not today, maybe a year from now, maybe 10 years from now, or maybe you live with the regret. You could end up in
Yes,
regretting it
yes.
too. So it's,
Exactly. And that's not taking action, right? When you're faced
yeah,
with the fear and you're like, oh, the fear is so strong that you don't take the action and you don't move forward. Well, that's another side effect, you could say, right? Of not taking that, where you're going to sit there and then you're going to see, you're going to witness either somebody else taking the same job or having the same idea or moving forward with the same thing you wanted to do. And now you're going to be sitting there with like, oh man, maybe I should have just tried it. Because opportunities don't always come. And when they do, you just need to know, is this the right one for me?
100%. So what tips do you have actually for them to know if it is for them? Because like you said, there's that fear portion that can be very confusing. So, so how can they manage that fear, but also know if it is for them? What tips do you have for that?
Yeah, I love that. And number one, I mean, it's knowing where you want to go in life, like having some sort of a plan, right? In the next year, I want to do X, Y, and Z, or I want to get, certified in something. So if that's like the ultimate goal, what are like, how can I put this? It's almost like when we're looking at a roadmap, right? And you know the destination is Niagara Falls, but there's all these different roads that's going to lead you, highways that's going to lead you to your one destination. So it's choosing the one that's going to take you there in the right amount of time. But then all the other side roads could lead to dead ends. It could lead to like, going to London, like wherever.
Or
So
taking
when
the hard way there,
yeah,
right? Instead of taking the highway, you're going into the city, taking 20 years to make your way there when it's just like, why did I
yeah,
get on the highway? I
yeah.
don't know.
So when you're faced with a decision and it's asking yourself, does this align with where I want to go? Is this going to bring me closer to that? And if it's a yes, then check in with yourself. Okay, why am I feeling this fear? What are the questions that I need to ask myself? And this process, guys, is really about you sitting with yourself and getting clear on what you want. And it is writing. Like it's no magic, the answer is just going to drop in your lap. Everything that you ever need is within you. All the answers that you need to ask yourself, your greater and your highest self already knows the answer. You just have to sit with yourself.
Mhm.
Give yourself some quiet time, right? Sit there with a pen and piece of paper and start to write out, well, if I do this, what are some of the pros and what are some of the cons? Because then you could see the tangible, right? You can see why it will work and why it wouldn't work. Talk to somebody in the field, right? Seek out an expert that's doing the thing that you are now striving to do. See what they have to say, because I'm sure that decision wasn't easy for them either. And nobody just starts off knowing everything. We all start off with zero understanding and zero knowledge of being a coach or being a real estate investor. It's the drive and the passion that you have for making that goal into a reality that's going to then help you to move through the fear. Is it your burning desire to want to do this? Do you want to create a better life for yourself? These are all questions that are great to ask yourself. That's going to, because then that will be greater than your fear.
Yeah.
So, do you want to stay the same? Do you want your life to change, or do you want to be doing the same thing a year from now because you didn't take that step forward? And sometimes, if you take it and you're like, oh my gosh, this wasn't for me, that will show you what was not meant for you. Because we think that, because what happens, and sometimes people will do something, they'll take another job or they'll, take a course or something, they'll be like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't for me. And then they sit with regret rather than seeing, hey, you know what? That wasn't for me. And that showed me that wasn't for me. So let me redirect. It's all in what you tell yourself and the questions that you ask and the reframing, right? You don't have to be down about something. You can say, what was the lesson in this I learned? Rather than, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. Why did I do this? Like there's a different energy there, right?
100% agree. And it's all like it happens for a reason, right? Because usually
Yeah.
we're building that image of what we want, but because we don't know fully at the beginning what we want, that's like it's not a clear image that we build. So you go into something, you do it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, no, no. that was not it, right? But what happens, you just like, you start reforming that image because it was like, okay, so this is a priority to me, that's a priority
Yeah.
to me. That happened to me. That happened to me actually. I remember I was working in a consulting job. I loved it, but I was like, you know what? I'm ready to like settle down
Mhm.
and not be traveling so much and having crazy hours and consulting. Even though I love what I did, but I wanted something a little bit more 9 to 5-ish, something a little bit more where it was a little bit more relaxing. And then like I went to like the full other side of the extreme. I went from the crazy lifestyle of consulting to like a union job, like
Wow.
very minimal work. Like I was, and the thing is, I could get my work done in like 2 hours because it was just like that slow pace. It was just like so much red tape, politics involved that it's just like things were very slow to get done. But to be honest, it happened all for a reason. I
Yeah.
think I got that amount of time to for myself to be able to start really getting to real estate. Because then I had 4 years, well, not 4 years, because I was there for 4 years. So I would say 2 to 2.5 years where I got into it. I realized how much I had way too much time on my hands. I'm not a person to waste my time. And so I all of a sudden was just like, well, I'm in real estate. I want to get full time into real estate. I might as well get paid to learn what I want to
Mhm.
learn. So, kind of what you're saying, like, I felt like that happened for a reason. It gave me that time to learn real estate, really get into like how to make money in real estate.
Mhm.
Because one of I would say like the blocking things I had in me was I would get home and I would be tired. And then
Mm.
so this was like a blocking thing that I had that I could never start a business because like I had a job and then going home and then being tired. So all of a sudden, like this opportunity comes where like I have so much time on my hands though, and I'm doing very well at work. I'm getting what they want done. Why am I going to just sit and be bored in front of my screen waiting for projects and things to come to me? And that's when it was just like, you know what? And I was very upfront with my boss. I'm like, if you don't have any work for me, I'm waiting on this project for this, I'm waiting for all these things. I'm like, I'm going to be doing things that I want to do. And I don't think I would be where I am today if it weren't for that time. So also analyzing what happens in your life, in your situation is so important because when you learn what it is that you like, but two, you find opportunities within there that you didn't realize that are going to take you forward
Yeah.
in the direction you're going in.
I feel like you cultivate that because you start to tell yourself and look and say, "Oh my gosh, this would be an amazing opportunity." You start to call that experience into your life by just desiring it, right? Even sometimes it's saying, "I just want my life to change. I would love something better." All of a sudden, depending on how powerful you had said that, in the vibration that you said that in, something will happen. And you'll be like, oh, at first you may not realize it because we don't connect the dots looking forward. We only connect them looking backwards. And sometimes something will fall apart or an opportunity will show up to put it in front of you to say, this is how you're going to change your life. You're either going to go through this motion or you're going to go through this stress. You're going to go through the fire to get to the other side, or this opportunity will show up where you're like, okay, well, do I take this? Yes, this seems scary, or do I not and stay right here? But I asked for this. Remember, I said I want my life to change, and now it's showing up. Maybe not in the way that we would like the answer, like someone's going to yell out to you, this is for you, it's going to change your life, right? We're not going to get that clear message, but we need to know what is that opportunity trying to take, where is it trying to take us? It's the awareness, right? It's being aware of your circumstances and situations. And when things show up, it's showing up for a reason. It's showing up for you to move you forward one way or another. So what are you going to do?
100%. So it's like when something comes up, when you feel like something bad's happening to you, it seems like a failure, it feels like something negative, always asking why, what am
Yeah.
I supposed to learned from that, I think is a great way to start pulling out those awarenesses. And like you said, even writing it down. I've noticed, for example, for me, same thing, like I'll ask myself questions and I've gone to a point where I say, okay, why did this happen? I
Yeah.
write it down. And then I've been putting down what I think the answers are. But then all of a sudden I've been able to notice the difference between me talking and like an answer coming. So I'll be
Ah, I
like
love
writing
that.
down what I'm saying, like, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that. And then all of a sudden I get this like feeling of like, this is the answer. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to like, you keep on writing and you'll just all of a sudden get this feeling that, and you'll like, as you write it, like, I'd be like, nope, that's not the answer. You know, like I'm actually writing it and I'm like, that's not the right one. You know, I
You'll
write the
feel
next
it.
one. I'm like,
You'll feel
no, that
it.
one's not it either. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, you'll just be like, this is the one. And then I'm like, oh, I'm like, that is the one.
And you know what? And you're in tune with how your body is and what you feel because, I mean, you understand the frequency and stuff like that. But for people that are just
I've
starting
been
out,
in it for a long time. So it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
you start like that, like one of the biggest things like was like learning like that, like who's talking, you know, is it me
Yeah.
or is it am I receiving information that's telling me so like that with me I actually can tell when it's my say like how you're saying the ego when it's just the me talking when it's like I'm actually listening for the answer to come. So I can now differentiate the two. So I mean that in itself is training, right? And that's actually how I learned. Writing is actually where I learned, and I just kept on writing, and I just keep on writing until you get that feeling where that's the answer, and I just keep on writing, and then like that sooner, and it gets quicker and quicker. Because sooner it's like I'd be writing a page, and I'm like, I'm just not getting it, you know, like the answer is
That's when
just
you
not
can give
coming.
yourself some time, right? You
Yeah.
come back to it, but you always find the answer. Like you're a perfect example. This has happened to me many times too. You will always find the answers. You just have to like sit with yourself. Like I know, guys, you want some magic strategy here, but it really is giving yourself that peace and that quiet and that stillness to allow the answers to come through. And I think we don't take enough time to give ourselves that. So, like you said, your mind will be filled with, oh, but I don't have to, like so many resistance, right? Oh, I don't have time. Oh, how can I do this? I can't find 5 minutes to meditate. I can't visualize. I can't write nothing down. What they're talking about is nonsense. But if you just stop and say, whoa, where are all these thoughts coming from? Who's saying that I can't do these things? Because then you're limiting yourself immediately by even having those thoughts.
Yeah.
But take it back a minute, right? Sit with yourself and the answers will come. Like, I don't think we make wrong decisions. Wrong and right is a construct that we give to things, right? Everything in
Yeah.
life is neutral. It's the meaning that
Yeah.
we give it that then becomes something meaningful to us. So if you look at life in from a lens that every decision that I make is the right one, that belief alone can change so much for you. But if we're constantly, doubting ourselves, if we're constantly like getting upset at ourselves for making a decision that seemed wrong, but you look later down the line and you're like, oh my gosh, that was the best decision I could have made. But at the time, it feels hard. Yeah, it feels agonizing. But it's seeing the
Mhm.
greater picture. It's having a lens that can see past all of the doubt and the fear. And it comes back to getting in tune with yourself.
Hmm. I love that. And just a little bit, add a little
Yeah.
more to that is when you get these I don'ts or no's coming in, just flip it. You know, I can't do that. I'm going to do it. What are the options?
Yeah.
How can I do it instead?
Love it.
Well, it's impossible to get done. Then all of a sudden you flip it. What are the possibilities for me to be able to get this done? Because the problem
Yeah.
with the negative is you close that door to the options that are there, which is basically what you're saying, right? It's like those negatives close that door. And when the door is closed, I'm like, what are you seeing? There's nothing to see. You got to open the door to see the
Yeah.
possibilities.
Yes,
So
exactly. But the
it's like,
resistance stops us, right? The minute we say,
yeah,
I can't do it, you haven't even given it a thought of maybe, right, like looking at how you can do it. And the minute you
what
say
are
you
the
can't do
options?
something, yeah, you're putting up that wall. But that wall
Mhm.
now, you don't even know if that's what you needed to get you to the other side of something, right?
Uh-huh.
But you
And then you see
instantly
someone
block
else
it.
do it. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it can be done. But you never asked yourself the question, that you just went to no, and what does no do? Close the door
It
to any
does.
other any options that there are there. So it's, you hear a negative come in, flip it. Flip it to the
Exactly.
positive, because it will help you, and flip it and ask it as a question.
Yeah.
I always feel like is always the best,
Yes.
because it opens up to you now figuring out, okay, how is this going to get done? What can I do? What are my options? I don't like that option. I don't like that. You can be like, I don't like that option. What is another option? Because there's
Yes.
always an
Exactly.
option that fits you as a person.
There is.
Don't ever think there is only one option, that's all it is. No, there is an infinite amount of options, and you just have to continue asking, okay, this one doesn't work for me. What is the one that's going to work for me so that I can get what I need to get done?
Exactly. There's never such thing as a no, because there will be at least one person that is willing to give you a yes. It's just finding the yes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. I
So
love it. This was
amazing.
so much fun to chat with you, Jacqueline. It's always fun to talk about mindset. It's always fun to just, open our minds and even hear like that opinions. Because even, you'll say things that will kind of like even shift my mindset. So it's always great. And
Same.
even if you guys in the comments ever have any points or opinions you'd love to share, feel free to share it in the comments. We'll voice your opinions too, give our opinions, because I mean we're all here to learn from each other and just continue growing. Jacqueline, thank you
I
so
love
much for
that. Thank
coming
you.
on. If you guys love what you heard from Jacqueline, she's going to be tagged on here so you can follow her. You can see what she's up to. You can DM her. And if you guys love what you hear from me, definitely follow me too. You can see what shows are going on. You can see, check out my app, and you can just see what I'm up to these days. Jacqueline, thank you so much. Take care, everyone, and we'll see everyone
Thanks,
in the next
everyone.
episode.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Jacqueline.